Being Human, a podcast presented by Cafeteria Media, hosted by Angelica Nuttall and Jordan D'Alexandre, that's main focus surrounds talks about sex, sexuality, and relationships, all with hopes to take away the stigma, judgments, and taboos that surround a practice that is necessary at its very starting point for survival and pleasure. It seems that one of the most commonly occurring activities across all species has been shut and locked away behind closed doors, and this podcast presented by Cafeteria hopes to be a great starting point for the conversation around sex. The goal of Being Human is making sex and sex education more accepted, accessible, and approachable while making a community that anyone can go to openly talk about it, bringing such topics discussed out of the closet and putting them front and center. Cafeteria Media proudly presents to you Being Human.
And a 1, and a 2, and a 1, 2, 3.
Damn.
That was
Crisp.
spicy.
Crisp.
Spicy.
That's some good shit. Hold on. Can I?
Yeah, go for it.
Hello, my name is Jordan D'Alexandre with Cafeteria Media, wanting to present you to a new series potentially. This is the pilot episode of something provided by a very special person in my life and hopefully soon to be in yours, Angelica Nuttall. Or Nuttall, I'm sorry.
Nut.
Thanks.
Yeah. A nut.
A nut. Thank
A
you.
nut, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, bringing it back. Go for it, man.
Okay, so this is technically episode 2.
I mean, we've tried the pilot multiple times in many
we
different
have.
scenarios, but like...
I
yeah.
did like how the other pilot came out.
I
though,
liked how
most
the
recent
first one in the bar turned out.
That one was
That
really
was
good.
special.
That one was really
That was
good.
special, yeah.
Special. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So to give a little bit of backstory to you guys and to you guys.
Also, do you want to do introductions?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. This is our lovely friend Jillian. She's a very cool person, very cool individual.
I don't have my own microphone, so I'm going to be borrowing it.
Perfect. This is Joe Padilla.
Hi.
This is handsome Kevin.
So kind. Thank you.
Very much
Hello.
so. Very much so. This is our cool green guy Parker over here in the corner, rocking it in the dad chair.
And of course, I'm Jordan. Hi.
Absolutely, as always.
There you go.
Okay. Backstory. As you guys have known that I've been talking to you about tonight, the culture in Utah is very fucked up, and people are not very educated in sexual education.
Utah bad.
Very much so.
Hold on. Say it's different. I wouldn't say it's bad.
It's different.
Utah bad.
It's a little bit bad.
Okay, well, you lived there
I
for
love
the
that.
extended...
I
yeah,
never
so
lived
you
For
can...
my whole life.
I've
Yeah, so you can
never
call
lived
Buck on
there
that. You can
Yeah,
call Buck on that.
it's bad.
Utah bad.
It's bad.
Angelica, what kind of
Yes.
swag do they have in Utah? Teach me about Utah swag.
Zero swag.
Okay, so Utah swag, just to give you a small breakdown, it's all bleach blonde men that look like they're supposed to be gay, but for some reason they're married and have 10 children. Like, it looks like they should have a husband named, like, Pablo from Puerto Rico. That's
Why
the swag
Puerto
that's
Rico?
in... I don't know.
Eres mío, compadre, no?
It's-
Not to get too off topic, but you just called the people in the Daft Punk special Dominican Blue or something like that? Blue Dominicans?
No, I didn't.
Blue Dominicans?
Oh, my
Something like
God.
that.
Someone from a meme called them that.
Oh, really?
I didn't call them. I just got it from a meme.
You got it from me. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we're getting too far off topic. I want you to
Yes.
continue.
Okay, so just like a tiny bit of backstory. Because of like the way that the culture is in Utah, a lot of people are not educated, and there is a lot of teen pregnancy. There's a lot of STDs. Like, it's very rampant. People don't know shit. It's not good. My parents educated me on sex at a very young age. I was about 5 years old when my parents gave me the sex talk. We had a very open household. We were always allowed to ask questions and receive answers. We could do our own research, etc. And I took it upon myself in high school, when everyone was hitting adolescence, to kind of be sort of like a sex therapist, like guidance person individual. So people would come to me to ask me to buy condoms for them, or get Plan B for them, or ask me how to please their girlfriend because they don't know how, or what pulling out means, and like where the actual hole is, where the clitoris is, etc. So building up to that, And then the stuff that I learned in college, because I took multiple human sexuality classes, and I will say this again, or maybe this is the first time I'm
First
saying
time.
it. I am by no means a professional.
Working
I do
to
not,
potentially become one.
very much so. I do not have a degree, but I'm working towards it, and it's kind of like my end goal. I want to be a sex therapist for my profession. So,
Do you want
with
to call
that,
it? Do you want to call it? For whatever reason, it's like sex friends or something like that. No, that doesn't make sense. And that's also really weird.
That sounds really
That's
weird.
really weird.
That
Sorry.
Sounds, that sounds
No,
really
I'm
icky.
gonna retract that one. I'm gonna retract that.
Perception though, sex friends just sounds. Honestly, I feel like because it's casual, it's like sex friends.
No.
But like, what about
kind of
what if we work for like casual, but like no, but like it wouldn't be like casual education. I don't know. That's your call. I
Friends
still like.
with benefits.
We could literally call it friends with benefits or something like that.
That's true. I'll take that title for now. Friends with benefits.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It works. It works for me.
Sure.
So with that being said, this podcast
How about
is
beneficial friends?
got it. That's a good
Yeah.
one. I like that.
How
I
about
like
beneficial
that.
friends?
Yeah. You're a lot better at titles than me.
I try.
He's been at this for a long
I've
time.
been
He
at this
has.
for a
He's
grip.
he's experienced.
That's for a grip.
Um,
That's very true.
Designer
But
in
yeah,
him.
so the goal of this podcast is to openly talk about sex and sexual experiences and how the world, and especially Western society, has been very forced into this realm of viewing sex as taboo and not talking about it openly with friends and family members. Because, let's be honest, everybody has sex except for asexual people, and we love them. We love them.
Every day.
Shout out to aces.
Stands.
We love them.
Stands.
But yes, it is a very integral part of society, and we need to have it be more accepted. Period. So that's kind of the point of this podcast.
I was gonna ask, the purpose being to open doors.
Yeah, it is. It's to open doors and to make sex and the topic of talking about sex more open. And that doesn't mean like
Penetration or whatever.
yeah, it doesn't
or
mean like getting into the nitty gritty details.
No, it could literally just be like the general topic. Like what sex education should at least maybe like its cousin compared to what it should be.
Exactly.
Because again, not professional.
It's like the after party to your sex ed class.
There you go. It's what
Exactly.
you should be talking about. Yeah, exactly. What you should be
Exactly.
talking about after sex ed
Absolutely.
compared to just the actual sex ed.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it shouldn't be like super serious all the time either.
Nah.
Like we don't have to use like the medical terms
No.
and stuff all the time.
I feel like that would kind of cut it.
That makes
Yeah.
it worse. That makes
Yeah.
it worse sometimes.
It
to
does.
just like
Medical
strictly use
term.
medical
Medical
terms.
term. Yeah, your dick
but
fucked up, man. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Ayo.
Like, you need to see a doctor.
Let me see your cock.
Let me see your cock real quick. Whip it out, man. Whip it out. Let me see them
Nice
boys.
cock.
Wait. Okay. How
Nice
do you
cock.
guys feel about the word cock?
It's honestly, I used to hate it. I used to
Really?
hate it. I used to hate it.
Where's the root of that? If you can track it back.
I don't know. I feel like using the word cock is so like it's like on the same level as saying the word like cunt. Like they're on the same level and they both feel like overly dirty, like over the top.
Yeah, I
They just
feel.
kinda
Oh, go
like-
for it. Go for it.
They like kind of cut like the air. It's just like
Yeah.
They very
so,
much
like-
do.
They do.
See, that's why I like the word cock, because I
Mm.
feel like it's like
Okay,
the
yeah, yeah.
dirtiest way that you
You
could
say-
refer
Yeah,
to like
alright,
a
yeah.
penis.
No,
and
I
that's
definitely believe
why
that.
I enjoy the word cock.
Yeah,
That's
no,
very-
seriously.
That's very fair.
I definitely believe that.
Yeah.
I definitely believe that.
I was always more neutral on it. Like it was just right next door to dick.
Well, dick sounds like almost like your funny uncle.
I
A little
know.
bit.
And
a
cock
little
is
bit.
its dirty
That was
neighbor.
literally my
Exactly,
grandfather's
exactly.
name. So
Yeah. It's my middle name
that
actually.
is your middle name.
Yeah. Well, technically the D is dick or death, so that's what it stands for. But I just prefer just D. Dick or death.
Dick or death.
That sounds like the game show on TBS
a little bit.
or on FX
like a
now.
Japanese game
Yeah,
show.
exactly.
No,
Dick
that's
or
one of the
death.
games in Squid Game. Like
Oh my
each
That
god.
makes more
player
sense. Wow.
has 6 minutes to fuck a mile of dick or be eliminated.
Or you literally will die.
Oh my god.
But
Um,
but to flashback, I think that Jill pretty much aced it, and Joe pretty much brought it home about
Yeah.
the whole cock thing, where it's like it's like
Yeah.
a really dirty way to refer to penis.
It really is.
Where dick is more like, it's kind of funny, like, you're in the bedroom and you hear a guy say, like, yo, you want to see this dick? That sounds like two boys or two like bros hanging out. Like, dude, show me your dick. But like
Yeah.
like cock has like this weight to it.
It does,
Yeah,
and I
it's like,
feel
let me
like
see that cock.
again,
like,
it's
yeah.
at the same level as like saying cunt.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that word.
But I
by
feel like that is
itself-
almost, I don't know if the right word is derogatory, but like it's
Yeah.
go for it.
Well, because I feel like nobody would actually like use like cunt, like
Well, at least
maybe
not
in, like, very, like-
here.
yeah, like cunt is like a little bit a tinge more visceral.
That's a
than
good
No,
cock.
that's
But cock
fair.
is pretty. Cock is a definitely the most visceral way to say penis, but like
Yeah.
cunt is like extreme, like more.
It's like
more
10
visceral.
steps
Yeah.
above
Because like I
pussy.
feel like
Mm.
also
It
because
is.
usually you wouldn't call somebody a cock as an insult, but you would say like, oh, you're being a fucking cunt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that especially with the hard T.
No,
Yeah,
with the
like-
hard
yeah.
T at the end.
If you're like digging around in your treasure chest of insults to
Literally
like
digging
throw at a
around as he
vile
uses it,
woman,
yeah.
you would
Yeah.
just let her have like full cunt.
Yeah.
And then like in like other languages, you have like puñeta and like puta maestra carajo chingada madre carajo. Like
Yeah.
don't ask me how I learned that one. Just
It's okay.
yeah.
No, it's okay.
can
I
do
know
that.
exactly what that insult is because my aunt, I grew up with an Ecuadorian aunt who yelled it at my uncle all the time.
Yeah.
So.
yeah. Well, yeah.
Wait, so
Good.
do you think the reason why cunt can be so visceral is because it may have misogynistic roots?
Oh, I definitely
Absolutely.
believe that.
Pussy is
Yeah.
the same way
Definitely.
because
Yeah.
if you look at both of the words and the ways
Yeah,
that
that's-
they're
that's so
used in
fucking-
society, pussy is used in replacement
Yeah.
of like
Yeah.
wimp or loser.
Ugh.
And it's one of the things that actually gets on my nerves a lot is because it's like, well, we're not out here calling people like penis. Like you're being such a penis
You're being
right
a
now.
like literally unless you're trying to make a joke. Like,
Literally.
yeah.
And like people be like real about it and they're like, man, like that person was such a pussy for thinking this way. And it's
Yeah.
like, man, like pussy is actually really strong,
Yeah.
really independent.
Huh?
Like,
Yeah.
But also
It
I
births
feel-
life.
right.
But
Yeah.
also, I feel like cunt is kind of being reclaimed. Like where you're like, oh, like
feel
you're
that.
serving cunt or like
No,
that's so
absolutely.
cunt.
Absolutely.
Like,
the
oh,
LGBTQ
cunt is-
community.
Cunt is coming back.
My
Are you
favorite
guys
It
thing.
aware
is.
of like in Australia and England they just throw it around like how we say dude? It's like, how's it going, cunt? Hey, cunt. It's
That's
going
what I was
grand."
referring to, or like
Yeah.
here, like
Yeah.
it's a little bit.
No,
it's a little
it's
bit
very
different
true. It's very, very
compared to
true.
there. Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah. I would like to talk specifically
Oh, what you
about
got?
the topic of women and orgasms.
Oh, doctor, we had a long
We had
conversation.
a really long
Me and Angelica in the
conversation
car had a
about
long
this.
conversation about this. It was a really good conversation.
I find it incredibly interesting, and I would love to share with y'all some really cool information that I've learned not only about myself, but about other women through this little journey that I've taken.
Before this
No,
goes too
it's it,
far, I just
dude.
think
I'm
that
excited.
Jillian should
No,
be
it's
holding
it.
the microphone for this section.
Respectfully.
Because she's a woman.
Also, Parker is gonna be celebrity shots. If you wanna hop in, just yeah.
I'll be holding the microphone.
Okay, so let me think where
Women
to
and
start.
orgasms.
Women and orgasms. So what I'd like to start with is this notion that I feel like has become very popular over the last decade or so, where obviously women are becoming a lot more like independent in their sex lives, and they're becoming a lot more like headstrong about it and setting boundaries for themselves and things like that. But I feel like there's this notion that has been going on where women are kind of blaming men for not getting them to orgasm. And I feel like a lot of it is unnecessary to a degree, because there are shitty men out there who do not want to make a woman come. They're in it for just themselves. But when there are men out there who are trying very hard to get that experience and to help a woman have that experience and it's not happening, it's definitely something that you then have to look at inwardly about yourself and your own sexuality. So I wanted to start it by saying that because I lost my virginity at 18, and I have been able to have vaginal orgasms the entire time I've been sexually active. But I accredit that to my ability to meditate since I was a child. And I've actually found this out about myself and from other women who kind of do the same, where if you learn how to meditate and focus your brain into one setting and one like here in the moment thing, you can actually have a vaginal orgasm very easily. It's actually really incredibly easy if you just place yourself in the moment. And I learned that through meditation.
A thing I also want to remind you about of our previous conversation of this
please.
was when you're having sex, you often are not thinking about you and your partner or even you and yourself or just the actual act. You're thinking about 50 different million other things.
Oh, yeah.
And then sex is also kind of in there.
Yep.
Therefore, if you can focus on centering yourself and just focusing on you and your partner or even just you and yourself,
Yep.
it's much easier to actually experience the pleasure that is having sex with another person and therefore achieving an orgasm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This
Absolutely.
is so nice.
No, it's
'Cause,
lovely.
this
I'm
is,
glad.
Like, this is like a really cool
convers-
podcast
yeah,
concept.
This conversation.
No,
is,
seriously,
like,
dude, it's
I'm
beautiful.
what
glad.
I've
I'm
been
glad you
craving.
agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really crazy because like I said before, I don't think that it's like, oh, we shouldn't be hating on men because like they blah blah blah. What I'm trying to say is like, if somebody is really trying and they truly care and they want to like help you have a good sexual experience and you're still not having it, it's definitely something that you kind of have to take into your own hands. I would say, I think I brought this up in the conversation. A
Sure.
big part of it, especially with women, is masturbation, which is not heavily accepted within women. And actually, a lot of women don't masturbate, which is crazy. Yes.
So, in like, say if there's a group of women and the topic of masturbation comes up in conversation, like, and then one lady says, "Oh, I masturbate," all the other women are gonna be like, "Ew, what's wrong with you?" Is that what you meant?
No, not necessarily.
Do you feel like it's more taboo?
It's more taboo because it's like men are the ones that masturbate because they have to. Women don't masturbate because there's not really a need for it, kind of thing. And so I don't know. This could be just from the
I
place
don't know
where
if we
I
need
grew
to.
up.
We just really, 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 really want to.
Well, right. I'm also
Yeah.
not a man, so I'm not like I don't got that knowledge within my
mean,
brain.
like,
But
Toxic
Like-
masculinity
Yeah, we
plays a
could
role
talk
in
about that for a hot second.
yeah.
Big
No,
dudes in
I
the
just want
room.
to finish my thought really
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
Like being an adolescent girl, there's things that happen when you're going through puberty. It's very similar to boys, but because of the taboos that are placed around being a woman at such a young age, you have this like thing in your brain that's telling you like you're really nasty and you're dirty and oh my god, I'm not going to be like a pure virgin anymore because I put my fingers inside of myself kind of thing. And so it's like it's very very extremely taboo to masturbate as a woman. And so then you don't even talk about it with other women because it's like this secret. It's this secret that shouldn't be told, that like we know everybody kind of does, but you also don't know if everybody does.
Do you think that frame of mind comes from just how hardcore radical Christian Utah was?
A little bit. I was gonna say this
Well,
is
it
this
could
is
be Latter-day
definitely
Saints,
my
but-
own personal experience within this, and this is why I wanted to kind of have this conversation with people who didn't grow up in that environment, because I want to know if it was different for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
personally, because it's like, first of all, I didn't have a religious background, like,
Yeah.
in any sense.
Right.
And, like, also didn't grow up in Utah.
Right.
You're not supposed to.
Yeah, you're not supposed to grow up in
Please
Utah.
don't grow up in
Utah
Utah.
bad.
Don't.
I was gonna say,
but-
you felt bad.
But like, yeah, so like I guess like I like the reason, like, I guess like I wouldn't have masturbated is just like because I wouldn't have known that women could masturbate, I guess.
And
Like,
that's the
as,
other thing.
like,
I
as
was
like
gonna-
an adolescent.
Yeah.
I think that like my like unknowledge of my like not knowing about masturbating came more from like not understanding my own anatomy and like the failure of like
Yeah.
our like
Sexual
education system, like rather
Absolutely.
than like any sort of like I'm not gonna be pure, I'm not gonna be a virgin, because like in my mind like that wasn't like a concept that I ever thought about in like any
Gotcha.
sense, because it's like
Yeah.
I didn't grow up with her, I'm not baptized, and didn't grow up with a
Yeah.
religion.
Well, and like that's the thing too. I also didn't grow up with a religion, but because of how heavily the
Yeah,
culture
the
like
culture.
influenced me, I was masturbating because it was such an open topic in my
Yeah.
household. Like you know, my mom was very open with me about it as a child. I knew my anatomy. I knew like what did what, like where things were and how to have a healthy masturbation within adolescence. And my mom really did an awesome job like guiding me and my sisters through that. But then there was always that thing culturally where it would like stick with you. And definitely this wasn't my experience because I wasn't like, oh, I'm not going to be a virgin. Like I didn't give a fuck. But it was definitely a thing that I heard other women saying because I was coming into adolescence and I'm like, hey, yo, y'all ever stick your fingers in yourselves? That shit feels good. And they're like, no, you're not a virgin anymore, Angelica. Like, you can't get married now. And I'm like, what? Like, what does that mean? Like, it was my own body. Like, I'm not a virgin now?
No, that's so crazy because, yeah, that, like, definitely around here, I don't think that would be a thing.
Yeah.
I think that, like, people wouldn't. I mean, like, I don't know. I also, like, grew up, like, my friends were also, like, edgy gamer types, and I also never, like, had, like, women friends as much. So it's, like, that topic would never come up. But, like, I think, like, the reason why we wouldn't talk about that is, like, my friends have always been, like, more, like, sexually reserved. So, like, if, like, someone were to bring that up, people would be like, that's your business, but okay.
And I feel like the whole that's your business, like compared to like, oh, like you're going to hell.
You cannot get married, bitch.
Exactly, like,
Literally.
I feel like it's more
you
like
fucking whore, dirty.
Right.
They come up to you with your fucking chat logs, like, is this what you're into?
No, literally. Like,
Freak.
all the
I
tea.
have the chat logs.
it's so bad. No, but yeah, like,
Have a seat.
it's really crazy because that's the other,
That's
like,
red bone.
that's the other side of it as well
Don't
that
need that
I've
in the
kind of been
background
able
right
to
now.
perceive is like it doesn't really matter where you grow up or like how you were raised because of the way our culture is. It's still that thing where it's like that's your business. Like, why can't we talk about it openly? Why can't we share like, this is how I feel about sex. This is how I feel about masturbation. How do you feel about it? Because we're social creatures. I feel like talking about it would severely help these negative connotations we have towards pleasuring yourself and others.
I feel like for me, it like mostly depends on like who I'm talking to because I have like some friends that are like definitely like very like uncomfortable with talking about sex, which like I like respect. Like because like I feel like a lot of my friends I like tend to make friends with like more people that are like I don't really want to like talk about that. It's like kind of like understood.
Right.
But I feel like it's like the uncomfortability was like usually more like when I was like younger, like nobody really wanted to talk about it that much, but like I feel like as I get older I find like more and more people that I can just like casually kind of like mention that to, but like I feel like the majority of people I end up being friends with like would prefer not to talk about that, or like would kind of like it would be like out of pocket or like kind of like just like not really like usual like in like the way that they operate to like talk about it, but like I'm okay with that because like that's like their boundary, and like I don't really like I'm not really bothered by the fact, or like I don't feel limited by the fact that they would prefer me not to talk about it, but I also have like friends that I can openly talk about it with. Like I feel like I would be like a more sexually open person if I made friends who were more sexually open, but like, you know, that's like I don't really feel like the like inherent need to be like sexually open.
That's fair. That's very fair. Yeah.
Well, I definitely hear what you say when you mention friends that are like not comfortable talking about it. Like even though I'm sitting here with you guys, there's some things that I'm not going to say.
Yeah.
But because there's like different like filters in the situation, I'm near people that I'm going to see again soon.
Right.
And I'm talking to like the planet Earth here.
Yeah.
But if I was just like in a quiet bar and then like me and some other person, man or woman, and we're just talking about like stuff we like, stuff we don't like, and like stuff we want, and if I know I'm never seeing that guy again, I'm telling like them or her everything.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So it could be the fact that like, oh, it's Jillian, and then if I tell her that I'm into like dressing up as SpongeBob, then she's gonna next time she sees me, she's
SpongeBob guy, right? And that's the other crazy part
like
too.
Kevin, imagine if you got off of dressing up as SpongeBob and you told one of your friends,
And then
Yeah.
the next day you just had to like walk up and like,
Bro,
how would you feel?
right now I'm going to say I'm gonna say everything during this podcast.
Please do, because here's the thing, Kevin.
more
Here's the thing.
Yeah, go for it. Go
This
for
is
it.
the other thing that I really wanted to bring up as well in this conversation, which is talking about sex as men is
As
a
men.
lot more open than it is with women.
Oh
And
wait, I have a
that's-
point.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Talking about sex with men is a lot more open than it is with women, but visualizing sexual parts, et cetera, is a lot more less with men,
It
but it's
is.
more
Yeah.
with women,
Exactly.
which is
It's-
interesting.
It's
Good
like
Maybe, but
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So like women will see each other naked, and
like
just be
girls
cool
will
with it
change naked in front of each
and
other.
all that shit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
I totally
Yeah.
agree. And like there's this thing where like you hear people say it all the time, like locker room talk. And like they'll be like, men will literally talk about it and they'll be like, oh, this girl had this kind of ass and this is how hairy her pussy was, and like they casually talk about it. But like women don't really do that in group settings. I feel like it's either a one-on-one thing where like you have your best friend where you feel like you can tell them everything, or it's like literally nothing. Like you don't talk about it in a public setting. You don't talk about it with your parents. You don't talk about it with your aunts, with your cousins. It's like, or even sometimes your siblings too. And I feel like it's a little damaging for women. Like it's a little bit damaging because if you are that open
It's
of a
isolating.
person, it is very
No,
isolating.
isolating.
And I feel like if more women were willing to talk about the subject and not keep it like as private as it does seem, not saying that I don't respect people who do, I absolutely do. I feel like we would be living in a much healthier sex positive world if women were more like not willing but like able to feel comfortable sharing that part of their life, because it goes back to what I was saying before. We all have sex, and that doesn't mean we have to talk about what we're into, like what you were saying, or things like that. It can be something as simple as like, hey, this one time I had this really good sexual experience and this is the way that it made me feel, and this is why.
Mm-hmm.
Like in what way? Oh, yeah. Okay, so basically, for those that don't know, Jordan and I are in an open relationship. Oh,
Jordan said that we should talk about X, Y.
okay. So
Thank you. I said that Angelica should talk about our relationship that we have.
Yes. So me and Jordan are in a open relationship. I don't necessarily do. I haven't, but Jordan sees other partners, and we also see people together. And we constantly talk about the way that we felt about the experience, or like I will ask him questions. I will be like, oh, okay, how was it for you? How was the experience? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? Those types of things. And then when we also see another person together, we will have long conversations afterwards and be like, this is what we enjoyed. I will literally be super honest with him and be like, hey, that thing you did actually made me feel really bad, and I didn't like that. Can we work on that? And I feel like doing that has made such like an impact on the way that I view sex and the way that I view myself sexually, and I hope it does for you too.
Yeah, it's like I get to fucking be myself.
Yeah, no, he's saying he can basically be himself, like 100%.
At least in that, more in that aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. And so like with that being said, like I don't know, I feel like if more people were willing to talk about that kind of stuff, and not even just in partnerships, especially in partnerships, because I do feel like a lot of people don't communicate in their partnerships
Yeah,
about
it's
sex,
insane.
especially women. I
And
find
the really
where-
bad thing is, sorry to cut you
No,
off.
yeah,
The
go
really
for
bad
it.
thing is it brews under the surface. It happened a lot, and
It
a lot of my
does.
previous thank you, best
yeah,
word.
Yeah.
And a lot of my previous relationships, resentment started brewing, and I was like, I
Yeah.
gotta pull the eject cord before it gets really rough, and I
Right.
can't even see you anymore.
Because that's the thing. I also feel like women don't communicate to men that often and be like, hey,
Tends to be
you're
the
doing
case.
that wrong. Please stop.
Yeah.
Talking like in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you're not doing this right. Can I please show you how to do it in the moment? Like,
Yeah.
we can talk about it afterwards for sure, but you also have to talk about it in the
'Cause-
moment, even if it's a casual hookup.
Understandably,
Yeah.
like there's like, because as you were saying, there isn't an environment where we actually have curated open communication. It's like, because it's hush hush,
Yep.
it is so difficult for women specifically to speak up, or even just men to speak up about what is happening. Like, what are they thinking about during sex? Because it's just like, you just
Yeah.
assume for your partner,
Mm-hmm.
or it can be on the whole other end of the scale of like that selfishness where it's just, you're just
Exactly.
paying attention to yourself and
Yeah.
not really
You're like,
caring.
it's just a job that needs to get done.
And even it
essentially.
could even be like you don't want to. You want to hop in? Okay. It could even be you don't want to lose the quote unquote intensity of the moment. You don't want to show vulnerability within the moment.
Right,
You want to be the
because-
dominant dude, or you want to
Exactly.
be.
Well, and that
Yeah.
also plays into the whole
Mhm.
thing where people like to they like to place
Deep cuts.
themselves in roles in their sex life very similar to like pornography, because they don't see those
Yeah.
breaks in pornography
Yeah.
where those actors are saying, hey, the way that you just did that either hurt me or it didn't feel pleasurable. Can you try it this way? Like, you have to be able to feel comfortable with yourself and other people in sex to stop them
100%.
and pause and say, hey, let's
I did
take a
want to
second.
touch on the porn thing.
Yeah, please,
Yeah.
please.
So, in the year 2023, with the coronavirus, the internet, the TikTok, the Instagram,
Mhm.
the pornography, at the risk of sounding like a boomer, it
Yes.
has fucked up. I would say men to a degree where you're right. They're thinking about all that porn that they watched, and that's
Exactly.
all the experience that they have.
Exactly.
Really try to
Also,
replicate it. Yeah.
I'll have.
Yep.
I'd like to remind everybody that if you look at the statistics of like male loneliness, and the last thing I want to do is play this like incel violin.
No,
but
for
like
sure, for
right,
sure.
so
But it is important
dating
to talk
apps,
about.
like in real life,
Mhm.
like if you compare like a man meeting a woman compared to like 40 years ago, it is night and day. So
Right.
there could be a situation where a man and a girl get together. Say the girl might have some experience, or she might be in tune with her body, or maybe all she knows is, hey, what's going on right now is not what I want to be going on.
Yeah.
The guy, like, all he has is like pleasuring himself to porn, and
Yeah.
now he's like put in this command of this like spaceship command center. He has all these buttons, and it's like, I'm willing to make this ship go, but beep boop, I don't know what this shit does.
Right. And then that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying it's not men's fault and it's not women's fault. It's everybody's
Yeah,
fucking fault.
it is.
Because the women don't want to speak up and the men just kind of go, all right, well, I'm just going to pretend like I know what I'm doing.
I would also say traditionally.
Traditionally, very much so. Very much so. Where, like, very averagely, from most people I've talked to, that's how their sex life is. Like what you were saying, the man is just like, I don't really know what I'm doing, so I'm just going to pretend like I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then the woman doesn't feel comfortable most of the time speaking
that's
up on it.
if the man in question can even be in bed with a woman at all.
Right.
Because as I was touching upon like the male loneliness epidemic, there is a very high likelihood that men our age, like, or maybe a little younger, a little older, never even like got kissed on the cheek, held a hand, cuddled,
Yeah.
like none of that. And like, not to say that it won't happen. And, you know, I hope good sex happens for everyone that's of age and consenting.
Yeah.
But like, it's people have sex.
Yes.
Everyone's people.
Yes.
But not every human being who gets horny and like goes out to a bar or fires up Tinder can get sex as easily as other people.
Exactly.
And that demographic is like growing.
Right. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
like, I want to make it absolutely clear, no one's owed anything.
no.
Women do not have enough responsibility to like forfeit their bodies.
No.
Thank you.
But like,
Very true.
Thank you for saying this.
of
Yes.
course. Well,
Yes,
you know,
thank
because
you, Joe.
before anyone gets on my case
Yeah.
about that, like,
No.
but then again, men, we have to get educated not only on our own sexuality, because porn's fucking it up. So like
Exactly.
the sexuality we get from porn is like not real.
Right.
So we have to like learn how to work with that, and it's an addiction to the scale of cocaine.
Right.
Very much is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Very
then
much is.
we have to work on that, and we have to like learn about real, not porn, but real women's pleasure,
Yeah.
and how to get there in the first place. Like
Yeah.
how to talk to a woman not as a sexual partner, but as a human being,
Yeah.
and then
No,
maybe
right,
you know
yeah,
sexual
seriously.
partner.
Seriously.
Yeah.
But then
End goal is
a lot of these guys that are like, you know, this demographic that's growing of lonely men, like they can hardly talk to human beings. Like forget a girl.
Right.
What if like just a random old dude comes up and tries to talk to them? Then they still get
Yeah.
nervous.
Well,
and like
and then there's also like that whole thing too, where I feel like, and this is not a lot of men, but there is some men where they believe this, where they're like, well, I'm just trying to hook up with this person. I'm not trying to like get to know them.
Not trying
And
to
it's
catch
like,
those
I'm
feelings.
sorry, but that's treating a person as an object.
I call it
Yeah.
masturbating with someone else's body.
Oh, yeah,
Exactly.
dog.
It
That's
is.
essentially what
Thank
it
you.
is. That's essentially what it is, man.
Both
Yeah,
the mics.
100%.
It's also like interesting, like coming back around to like the topic of like women kind of not being able to like bring up like if a man is doing something wrong
Yeah.
during sex. I feel like there's like almost like a pride aspect with men. There's just like this expectation for them to kind of like know what
Yep.
they're doing.
Right.
So it's like not wanting to like hurt their ego. Whereas for women, I feel like it's almost like sometimes more attractive to men when they're inexperienced and don't know what they're doing. There's
Yeah.
always that concept of like a man wanting to like fuck a virgin kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if a woman's inexperienced, it's which is like a problem in and of itself.
Right.
And like another predatory topic to
Ab-
discuss.
yeah,
but like
absolutely.
as
So I understand
Oh,
you're
he just-
into virgins.
Oh, sorry.
Why
I
don't
was
I
like,
ask you
Joe
a couple
just,
questions
Joe
about
just,
that?
Joe,
Joe just
Joe,
straight up
Joe.
swiped that. So I'm just gonna take that for a second.
but so it's like kind of like an interesting thing. Like I wonder if like that sort of like women not wanting to like bring it up to men is like kind of like a, oh well, like they think they're supposed to know like what they're
Right,
doing, so
right.
like I don't really want to like bring it up or like 'cause, like,
Yeah.
it would be incredibly offensive to them.
Right. And it
Whereas
so
like for women,
is.
like it's like hot for like a guy to like, oh no, babe, like this.
This is how it
you
works.
don't know because like
You're
You're so
inexperienced.
inexperienced. And I have to teach you.
No, literally.
know,
I have to
like-
teach you about your body as a man. Like
Yeah.
it's really fucked up. It's really fucked up. It does.
Yeah.
No, Joe, when I
Absolutely.
lost my virginity, okay, like I said, I've been very educated on my own body, but I was still inexperienced, right? I knew what I liked and I knew what I didn't like because I had, masturbated for a very long period of time. But to have sex for the first time, it was so weird because this guy who was not only older than me, but more experienced, I was like, no, I'd like to just do missionary because when you do other positions, it hurts me. And he's like, that's not how it works. And like, I'm not saying he made me do the other positions, but I also had this thing in my brain telling me, I don't want to disappoint this person.
Oh, the
So I
power
don't-
dynamics, man.
Yeah, so I
Power
was like, I
dynamics.
don't want to say anything anymore. So I just kind of like went with it because I was also inexperienced. And I'm like, well, this person is experienced, so maybe he knows what he's talking about. Maybe this is how women are supposed to kind of like play this role in sex. And they have to be in doggy style. They have to be in this position and that position. And like, it's the only way I'm going to be able to get this person to come. And it's like, it's fucked up. It's really fucked up to not be able to tell a man, hey, I don't like this position and I'd really prefer not to do this position, especially in a hookup, If it's a partnership, totally different thing. You make, compromises. But if it's just a hookup, you have the right to say, hey, doggy style hurts and I don't want to do it. Can we please stick to just this? And then they have every right to leave the fucking room. They don't have to
Absolutely.
come. They don't have to stay there. If that doesn't work for you, leave.
Yeah.
Very true.
So, from my personal experience,
Yes, please.
on the other end of it, from like a guy's perspective, I was in this one night stand, but it was during the day, and basically it was like all of the red flags were just there,
Yeah.
building up to it because it was like, yeah, we're so attracted to each other, but I mean just physically.
Yeah.
And so it's like that kind of mutual masturbation, as Joe said. And basically, we end up doing it, and it's like, because like, she's like idealizing me the entire time in the same way that like women get objectified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Right.
So she's like, there's like that, as we spoke earlier, of that expectation of how men should perform.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of pressure
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, and we're like building it up, and like I already knew it was gonna be like mid.
Yeah.
And so I'm just I'm in there, and like it's like I'm just overperforming, and I could feel it because I'm just
Yeah.
like, and I just want to say that I'm not enjoying it,
Yeah.
but I just, there's that fear of like disappointment
Oh,
and
dude.
like
Exactly.
vulnerability
Yeah.
that it's like
Right.
preventing me from just being like, I don't really want to do this.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
and then getting up and leaving.
Yeah.
Because I feel, to go on to that topic as well, as much as I'm, trying to talk about women in this position, unfortunately, with kind of the patriarchy that we have in place in this society, men also have this pressure where they feel like they're supposed to know everything. But then on top of that, they don't want to be wrong either.
Yeah.
And like it's this back and forth game that they play in their brain because they're like, I'm supposed to know how to do this, but I don't know how to do this. So then they play this
And it
weird
does a number
game.
on us.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
it does
It very
this
much
weird
does.
little thing inside their brain, and I feel bad for men sometimes in certain aspects because I'm like, that must be really difficult to kind of like have this unrealistic expectation that's also not said and not talked about,
Yeah, there's also a lot of
especially between other men.
stuff that we've been
Mm.
hearing since we were like younger. It's
Mhm.
like where like a guy would get laughed at because his dick's small. Oh, he lasted 3 minutes. Like he's like not banged a lot of women, stuff like that. And I think it's really interesting how you mentioned the patriarchy and the words used after that, because someone told me once, the patriarchy does not benefit men. The patriarchy benefits patriarchs.
Exactly.
Not every man is a patriarch.
Yeah, right.
No, exactly. I totally agree with you. And that's where it gets like really sticky, is because it's like men don't want to participate in this patriarchy, but it's still there and it's still prevalent. And the more sex is taboo, the worse it gets.
Dude,
It's
this is
crazy.
Like, this is like the equivalent of like white privilege and racism.
Yeah.
It's like literally, and like this, the same way to solve it would just be talking about it.
Yeah.
It's just like just open dialogue,
Yeah.
accountability,
Yep.
and it's like vulnerability. And so like,
It's really good.
Yeah.
I
It's really
wanted
good.
to touch on this earlier.
Yeah, please.
What's up?
Because another thing, like I was speaking to Jordan about this when I came here, because I have been feeling rather decent about myself lately,
Yeah.
but all of a sudden, as your feelings do, they come up, and it was revolving around my ex. And I had a dream last night, and it was of her telling me through text, I think, something about like just like me like having a small dick or like being inadequate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's because it's like, and I think it manifested in that way because I have insecurities relating back to since I was a kid of being Asian
yeah.
and being stereotyped as having a
Right.
small dick, because like literally the projection was so fucking hard by this
Oh, yeah, I
one
bet.
specific kid,
Yeah.
because like, yo, this is fucking insane. I'm not gonna out him. this dude,
Do it.
this fucking dude, oh my god, literally constantly on my back, just like Asian dick jokes, and like, and it's like this other aspect of like Asian men being docile, and so we have to, there's like I see it in my friends where we try to prove ourselves by being hyper masculine because we're
Yeah.
so like viewed as just like, not adequate.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, for
And
sure.
So since that was built in me as a kid, it's like anything revolving around my sexuality, my genitals, it's like it would just hit so hard. And
Yeah.
it's like with this one kid specifically, he would make fun of me all the time. And then one day, my ex told me that she slept with him.
Ow.
No.
And but like they like way before, like before I was in the picture. And
Yeah.
and she told me he has a micro penis.
No, it's literally
Wow.
like
So then
It
it's
was
projection.
straight projection.
Yeah.
And I like feel bad for him because I'm just
Yeah.
like the amount of
what you got?
like how much he gets stigmatized like on a daily basis of like, because it's like what I experience, but I imagine actually having that, it's like a lot worse, because it's like, at least for me, I have learned to accept myself, and I'm like, honestly, I'm like a little above average, and like women have been like, you have a good pee-pee, and I'm like, okay, thank you. And so it's like I've like learned to like
It's worse
accept
things
my-
It's
you
not
could
the
say
size
about a
of the.
guy.
It's not the size of the wave. It's the motion of the ocean.
Exactly.
Wow,
And
that's a
so
good
like
one. Okay.
people around me, other Asian men, have like really like built their personality around that saying, because it's
Yeah.
like the savior
No,
of like
it's
how
true.
we how we like
It's
protect
so
ourselves.
true, though.
And so
Oh, that's crazy.
yeah, so going back to the dream,
Mm-hmm.
because my ex ended up cheating on me, and that had a lot of ramifications, of course. And so when like our sex life, it was decent. Like I really enjoyed, like it felt like we had a spiritual connection as well, so it felt like that like kind of energy matched.
Yeah, like very
was-
bonding.
yeah.
Yeah.
But then because my identity as a child has been based around my sexuality, like I've based my entire identity as my physicality of my physical form, like that's who I am. That's it. Like that's why I used to work out so much. It was like if I felt so ugly, because I did, I would work out, and that would be my excuse to feel better about myself.
Wow. Yeah.
And so because that was tied to my identity, it was tied to sex, because sex is the pinnacle of success for men.
It is.
It's
And
true.
so that's
It
why
is.
it's so important
Yeah.
for men. We're like pressured to have as much sex as possible, have as many partners as possible, and that sort of pressure to know how to do it, even though we haven't been taught to properly,
Yeah.
because there's no open
Yeah.
communication,
No.
constant pressure. It's like, of course, there is a culture that has been created of incels, because there's that lonely aspect, because
Yeah.
they don't know how to communicate, because they're told that they must perform that they are just physical beings, and that it's just related around sex.
You
then
are
they
your penis,
base
basically.
and then they
Yeah.
project that onto women, because they're just like, you're my conquest.
Yeah.
Like I have to engage with you sexually, and so they just look at women as
Like
objects.
trophies.
Yeah. Like
Exactly.
a trophy.
Achievements.
A trophy.
And if
yeah.
you've been looking at the news like lately, any time in 2022, and this issue for men, like it bleeds over into a whole bunch of other aspects of life, because what you'll find in the workforce is, even though like COVID is like not as big as the problems it used to be, there is a record number of able-bodied, healthy men around our age, like working age men, who just cannot be bothered to work. And like they're not, if they are working, they're working like bare bones minimum wage jobs, and it's because that they don't see a point. A lot of people hypothesize it's like well, you're gonna work so you can afford stuff for your kid, no wife, no kid, so that can't happen. You're not gonna go adopt, so you don't need a big old house to fit that in, so you're not gonna work to pay for a house. And and this is happening worldwide, kids are staying with their parents longer, right? I moved out
Right.
at 24, right? So my parents are going to pay for stuff, so why don't I just stay? And I heard this too. The reason why revolutions don't happen these days is because we would lose more than what we would have if we just kept things the same. Whereas back in the day, if you didn't do anything, then you would
Such a
lose
good
out on
point.
everything, and there was no chance you would eat.
Right.
Right. So,
Right.
but because we have food, we have shelter, We have like, I don't know, games, so like entertainment. We have porn, so
To
like
escape.
we don't have
Word.
connection, but we can trick our brain that we have it
Yeah.
for a solid, I don't know, 5 minutes at a
yeah,
time.
right.
So then like we're pacified.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
really good word
No,
to use.
and I feel like that also goes into attention span, because I was reading this really interesting article. Shout out to Sex News. Really, really great place. I suggest you guys like read and look into their articles, because they come out with really, really cool topics. It was talking about attention span, because attention span has been dwindling in recent years. TikTok is a huge reason why. YouTube is a huge reason why. Like social media in general. It's really hard for people to sit down and read a book. Even people to sit down and watch a fucking movie.
No, that's
And
actually a
so-
real one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so it's leaking into sex. It's leaking into sex to the point where people get uninterested in sex within 3 minutes of it. And that's
Yeah.
another reason why we're seeing higher rates of men, having erectile dysfunction at younger ages. Women,
Ew.
Yeah.
like reporting that they can't even make themselves come a lot of the time. It's like it's getting worse, and it's because our attention is not in the moment and now. It's on escaping.
Well, because our attention
Totally
is like
escaping.
extraordinarily valuable. If you think of
Absolutely.
TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and porn, especially porn,
Especially porn.
there's a reason it's free,
Right.
because they want you to use it.
That's
Right.
fucking fair.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't think about that sometimes.
No, it's
Ever
true.
heard that before?
No.
I haven't.
There's
I haven't. I haven't
Never
thought
even
about
thought
that,
about
dude.
that.
I haven't
Yeah.
thought about that.
Fucked.
And like
Yeah.
to
It's like,
go
wow.
into that, and to go into like back into the topic of like orgasming, it's getting worse, because it's not just women experiencing it anymore. It's also men who are having a lot harder of a time being able to orgasm, because porn, like men will not men well so men will, but I've also seen reports of like women doing the same thing, where if they are avid porn users, it gets to the point where they're skipping to 5 seconds of a clip, and that's all they watch, and then they switch
Yep.
to another video and watch 5 seconds,
Yep.
and switch to a video and watch 5 seconds,
Yep.
and they'll have multiple tabs open, and like all of that kind of shit. And then again, that leaks into your sex life to the point where you're in it and you're like, damn, I gotta finger this person, I gotta get them wet, or I gotta get this guy hard. Why isn't he getting hard? Like it's very frustrating
Genghis
for
Khan
both people.
didn't have the access to the boobage that a 13-year-old today does.
Right.
That's why he did
Right. And so it's because of that overstimulation and the shorter attention spans that not only is that loneliness statistic getting higher, because it's also people not being able to really find pleasure in sex. They can't find it in sex because they
discord.
only can find it in masturbation with porn.
And that's if they know that ahead of time. A lot of times, like, people pursue meeting someone's sex, and if they're lucky enough, they get in the bed, and then when it's too late, they're like, oh, man, I suck at this.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then that puts a
Oof,
really big damper on
shame.
like your self-esteem.
Yeah.
Big
It
time.
really does.
Because,
yeah.
like Kevin was saying, like, all the things that men have to be. We have to be successful. We have to bang a lot of women. Like, I think there's also an idea where we have to be desirable.
Oh,
Absolutely,
Right.
So, like,
absolutely.
I
You
can-
have to be the guy with the biggest cock,
Right,
and the
right.
biggest
So, Kevin-
muscles, and the six pack. Like
When you were, I'm pretty
crazy.
sure when you've had a relationship with a woman, I don't know if it's your ex or some other woman,
Yeah.
but like there's something in the back of your head where it's like, am I giving her everything that she needs? Is there anything
Yeah,
that I'm not
dude.
giving her that she deep down inside in her would like, you know, for her to go get and find somewhere else?
Dude,
Yeah.
constant fear because
Absolutely.
it's like,
Because you don't want to be alone.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
that's why I stayed in that relationship for
Mhm.
so long, regardless of how poorly I was treated, because I didn't understand my value. But it was me not wanting to be lonely, and then I was too afraid to let go of what I thought I had.
Yeah.
But what I had was just a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
It was a reflection of my insecurity in myself, not being able to really appreciate myself and value myself, and thus
yeah.
I will give whatever it is
Something
in order
that I
to
learned
have
is,
a little something.
our ancestors, like back in fucking caveman era, like when we experienced loneliness, our bodies were put into like an equal amount of turmoil as it was to like near death hunger.
Right.
So like food and people are like very important. And there's a reason why we behave the way that we do when we're depressed, which happens when you're lonely. It's like you go into like a dark spot where no one can find you and you're kind of hidden. And
Yeah.
that's because you don't want anyone to see you sick and vulnerable, and you don't want predators to find you.
Yeah.
So and you don't want to
Damn.
move a lot and waste
Interesting.
all the calories that you're not eating.
Damn.
Wow.
Didn't think about that one.
So and
That's a
this
good
hit
one.
me once. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I was working
That
from
was a good
home and
one.
I was working a whole bunch of hours, and then I'm like, man, I'm hungry. And then like I just got up in the kitchen, and it's like I wasn't even thinking. My body's like, bread, mayonnaise, meat. I'm so hungry. Food now. And then it's like, wait a minute. When I'm not hungry, but I'm hungry for something else at the same level, it does a number on this thing.
It does.
Mm.
It really does
Yeah.
because, you know, like that saying where like don't eat when you're bored.
Yeah, so imagine like, okay, if I don't know, you, me, or Kevin were like that hungry for like, I don't know, food,
Mm.
and there was like a whole bunch of cookies with like gasoline cans, and then do you give a shit at that level of hunger if there's gasoline on the cookie? No, you just eat it,
Probably still gonna eat it. Yeah.
and then you die. But
Yeah.
you don't care.
No.
You're hungry and you're eating.
Yeah, it's instinctual.
So
Yeah.
that girl that you just talked about
Yeah.
was a gasoline-soaked cookie, but you
yeah.
didn't care.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
You were emotionally
Yeah.
hungry.
No,
Exact-
yeah. And like
Great way of putting
that's
it.
the thing too, Kevin, is like I feel like my last relationship was the complete opposite because it was the sex that was keeping me in the relationship.
Oh.
Mm.
Everything else about it was absolutely horrid.
Oh well, yeah.
Like like awful, but the only time I felt loved, beautiful, and like that I could be myself was during the sex.
wow, that's pretty interesting. Well, I mean, like,
And I feel like a lot of women actually do experience that. So it's opposite for them.
yeah.
It's opposite for them where men don't feel loved and cherished in their everyday relationship.
Yep.
Like you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's,
No, I
it's
think
the
it would be.
opposite.
I think it would be the same.
Would it
No,
be the
be-
same?
I think it would be the same because we don't feel. Well, I want to talk to Kevin for 2
Yeah,
seconds.
please.
Yeah. There's a quote, and we're getting about an hour, so we're gonna have to wrap it up in a hot second, even
Yeah,
though
yeah.
this has been fucking delightful.
Close the show.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Well, we're not closing it just yet. We'll probably go for like 10, 15 more minutes, but I just want to let you guys know. So there's a quote that I read. I'm gonna butcher it, but essentially saying, just as the ocean does not ask for more water because it has all that it needs, so such is the same for you in love. So,
Yeah.
and that's a good one. So essentially saying, I can get you on that. I can get you on that, man. So that's a really easy one, but just to say, like, you know, the love that you wish to find from other people, you should find from the inside, which then flips to what you were saying, where
Exactly.
it's like we well, at least for me in my personal experience, you have something?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I do hear what you're saying. Like, and I have learned to like love myself more than I have in the past.
Yeah.
Because in the past, I used to like use myself as like a torturing victim.
Yeah, dude.
But-
Right. Yeah. Who doesn't?
Huh?
And like,
Very true.
God damn.
I've done the mental and like spiritual work to like be okay by myself, but still, there's like this. I always envision it like
Yeah,
All
okay,
Might,
here.
like, you know, like when he's skinny or when he's buff, he has like this giant fucking scar on his stomach, and then it's like it's my 1 weak spot, and because of it, like I'm not at my full potential. Well, it's like me with that. Like I can do whatever I got to do, and I can do a great job at it, and I can like live a net positive life, and the fulfillment that I search for in other people, I can live without it. I'm not going to die. I'm not going to kill myself, anything like that. But it sure freaking helps. When I'm
Yeah.
with you, or like when I was hanging out with my aunts and uncles, I called my aunts and uncles on the phone for
Yeah.
like, I don't know, a half hour.
Yeah.
And the whole rest of the night, I felt fucking great.
No, it's
And
so
like, I'm not
true.
sure, like when you say, so, oh, love yourself and like find that within yourself, how do I get what I got from talking to my family when I'm the only one in the room and I'm not talking to
It's a balance, Joe. It's
Yeah.
a 100% balance.
Okay,
thing.
no, you are correct.
Yeah.
There's a few points. So to flash it all the way back to the dude who was bullying you, essentially, that's an unequal. That still is a balance, where he feels so down about himself that he needs to balance it by, well, I guess it would be he feels. I imagine it like this. He feels so down about himself that he needs to balance it with such aggression and hatred towards one source. Where a person that is more equally balanced, or at least like living like in more of a middle way, doesn't really necessarily seek to hurt that much and doesn't necessarily hurt that much. So it's about finding a balance in those two aspects. Joe, it's not necessarily that the ocean can't accept more water. It's that it has enough to survive, has enough to continue being the ocean.
Right.
It's not a lake. It's not a pond. It's not a puddle. It's not a drop of water. It's the ocean.
Yeah.
So it's finding an amount of love in yourself that you feel whole or whole enough to continue on living. Like, it's almost like you're backpacking around the world and you have just enough in the backpack to keep you going on until you finish your 80 days around, or however long your journey is around.
And to kind of add to that, like,
Yeah.
little
wait,
metaphor.
sorry.
Oh yeah, go for it.
But that does not mean that you can't have stuff for souvenirs or room for souvenirs and stuff like that
Absolutely.
for longer
Yeah.
travels.
And
But
to go
go
with
for it.
that little metaphor,
Yeah. And then
the
Parker wants to talk too.
ocean also
Yeah.
isn't healthy without a thriving environment living within it.
That's a good one.
And
Good
so
addition.
the ocean can't be the ocean without the fish and the coral and the things that are in the ocean. It can't be the ocean without even the sand. So, like, you have to look at it as, like, you are the bigger picture, and it's those little things that are included within it that kind of balance it out. It's all about balance.
There is this one thing that like I do want to touch on
Mm-hmm.
lately, because loneliness for like romantically or just like in general for like having people around you, it's like that can get to you. It gets to me sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, do I want a girlfriend or do I just want this feeling to go away?
That's fair.
Right.
And
So-
honestly, you
and
can
then
bring
I thought,
that into
like,
sex
okay,
too.
when did I make it go away?
Mhm.
When I was in art school, I was up from like 7 in the morning to like 2 in the morning the next day, non-fucking stop. And then someone asked me, hey, Joe, is there any girl that you like at the moment, like here in the school? And then I thought about it, I'm like, not really.
Yeah.
Because I haven't paid it that much mind, because there's
Yeah.
so much stuff that I like had to get accomplished. And like,
Right.
when I moved, like, okay, getting the apartment all set up, women weren't on my mind. The mural, that helps a lot. But deep down inside, I think it's a little bit depressing how in order to make it go away, I have to make myself
But-
like such a machine.
No,
So-
but don't think about it like that. Like, I'll tell you, these things are horrible. Addiction. There's cigarettes up there that I smoke for
Don't
good
smoke.
occasions and shit like that.
Vape.
I'm sorry.
Don't vape.
Please don't vape.
Don't
Please.
vape.
Don't vape.
You're
Please
literally
don't vape.
not supposed to vape.
Yeah,
Please
it's not good
don't.
for you.
Please don't.
Vape bad.
Vape
Utah
bad.
bad.
Utah bad.
Vape
Vape
bad.
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 We should
Vape
shouldn't
bad.
say Utah bad. We should say Mormon. Do you want to say?
Yeah.
Do you want to know how
Mormons are bad.
That's
Do you know
That's a
why
cult.
Mormons are bad?
It's a
Because they
cult.
vape. That's how they got so bad. Wait, give me
Mormon-
that. Give me that, Jordan.
What, this? Are you gonna vape?
No. This is what ruined Utah. Okay, learn.
This is a ruined Utah.
Learn.
Actually, it was the
Learn.
opioid epidemic, but yes,
That's
same
fair.
thing.
Yeah.
What was my point? Parker also wants to talk for like 2
Yeah,
seconds.
I was gonna say.
Oh, you want? Okay.
I was talking about being a
Yes.
machine and making the feeling
Yes,
go away.
and I was talking about vapes, and then we got off
Addiction.
track. Yeah, when I was setting up this space, it's very much akin to that. I didn't like the only time when I'm really truly masturbating, vaping, what else is it? Trying to get like pussy or something like that outside of the the fantastic sex that me and my partner have, and et cetera, is when I am stagnant. Is when I'm not doing anything. Is when I'm plateaued. When I have stuff in my life to entertain, but there's good entertainment and there's bad entertainment, and there's like median. But like this was a huge milestone. Like getting this studio was a huge milestone. Setting it up, putting the lights up, doing everything and making it very much my own space. I didn't like touch my vape for the entire day.
Right.
Didn't choose to masturbate.
Idle
so
hands
proud.
are the
Eating
when
devil's
you're bored.
playground.
I'm sorry.
Idle hands are the devil's playground.
And dog, they really
Yeah, they
fucking
are.
are.
Yeah.
They really fucking are. It's funny. You want to get women off your mind, like just draw again. Fucking do something that's
I
like,
have.
yeah, exactly, fulfilling for your soul, and watch the piece that you kind of want or hope for being, let's just say as women, naturally kind of fall in place. Especially with this one. After my past relationship, I didn't expect to get in a relationship for like a year, 6 months to a year. And then we just started casually, hooking up. And then, but a really important point that I want to bring up is
Mhm.
it's not that we started mutually masturbating with each
Yeah,
other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like from Jump Street, me and her established that, like, look, I'm just literally looking for a person to go adventure with, like just go get ice cream or some shit, and have sex with. And that's just kind of, that was like boilerplate. Like that's what I am looking for out of this relationship. And I sent that in the first Hinge messages that we sent
Yep.
between each other.
Mhm.
And I feel like for whatever cosmic reason, like within the universal span of whatever the fuck, that then set off the chain of events that led us to this position where we're in now, because we were upfront and honest with each other about what we wanted out of the relationship, and there was no
Yep.
shadow games and no fucking,
We
this,
set
that.
boundaries. We were
Yeah.
open. We talked.
Yeah.
We communicate.
Yeah.
And that's where that kind of like relationship can blossom, is it's unexpected,
Yeah.
and you don't have to ask for it. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to ask for it from the person that you're like wanting to be involved with.
Because I feel like if I just was like, hey, you should come over, we could watch Netflix and chill type shit, we wouldn't be in a relationship at this point in time. But it was because I took the leap to go out of my comfort zone and establish a boundary within myself and within the, it's a relationship, but it's not like a capital R relationship.
Yeah.
It's like how you explained
Yeah.
it to me in the bar. It's like
Yeah.
people pass like these tiers.
Yeah.
First she passed
Oh,
the
yeah,
person
yeah, yeah.
tier, then she passed the friend tier.
Yeah.
Now she's like relationship tier, and
And now she's like
However.
here. But
yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
And it's really interesting too, because like even within our relationship, I feel like with the steps that we took beforehand, as you said, this whole thing was completely unexpected.
It was. I didn't expect to
Completely
be
unexpected. And there
7 months in at this point.
Right. And there
Yeah.
were points in time, even when we were hooking up, where like you would text me or I would text you and we would be like, dog, I'm not feeling it tonight.
Yeah.
And we just accepted it. We didn't take it as like an insult. We were just
Yeah.
like, hey, cool, you got shit to do. Peace out.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
we just were fine with it.
I
Mhm.
feel like you can still mutually masturbate even
Com-
if it's with
I've done it multiple
boundaries.
times.
Oh,
Completely
okay.
acceptable.
Yeah, no, because like
Yeah.
earlier
No,
you said
completely
that, it was
acceptable.
like-
It was just for whatever reason with her, I was like, I actually kind of want to try with this one to like establish like a real boundary.
Okay.
For whatever
Yeah.
reason, that was
I just had
universe,
to,
like
like,
just
go back.
channeling fucking through me and just being like, you should
Yeah.
try with this one.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
Yeah.
Also, to touch on what Joe was saying earlier with the scar of that like itch that you have for wanting a girlfriend or some, like, is that, what would you like?
it's just like I say that loneliness is a dull pain, like
Mhm.
what you get in your back,
Yeah.
and then it's just like it's something that's always way in the back of my head, like my head's a cave.
Yeah.
It's like making a noise and it just like echoes, and then you're
Yeah.
like, did you hear that? And then like maybe some people don't, but I hear it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think everyone hears it, but I think what commonly happens is the narration really affects how we view ourselves on it, because as you were saying, it's a scar, or a weakness. It's not a weakness, it's innate in us to feel that need to want to socialize. It's
Hundreds
just
of
it's
thousands
in
of
Right.
years
us.
old.
Yeah,
It's
that makes
to-
sense. Yeah.
Because
It's-
in order to have like a fulfilling life, you have to love yourself and
Mhm.
you have to love other people
Yeah.
equally.
Yeah. And so it's very important to understand why you want a partner. It should never come from a place of lack. Like, it should always come
Or
from
like making it go away.
yeah,
Like, if
like
what Joe
as
was
you
saying.
yeah, like
yeah.
why do I want a girlfriend? Is it to make the feeling go away? Don't do that, because if you're doing that, it's coming
Well,
from
I
a
understand
place.
that. Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
used to look for women to make it go away, but now like I realize that you're not supposed to do that, and
Mm.
now
Yeah.
I treat like men and women, old, young, like no matter what they look like the same.
Yeah.
And so whenever if I were to meet a very pretty woman, like there wouldn't be anything that I'd be trying to get from her. 'Cause-
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So I would have
Amazing.
to get along with her like how I got along with you or you or you.
All right,
Mhm.
great.
And
Yeah.
if she wants to, I think of it like this. So, if you're on like this main strip, this road with like a bunch of these stores on it, and like in one of these stores is like a furniture place, then like for a furniture salesman to make a sale, he's not going out running up and down the street
like into people's like cars and buildings. Like, hey, you want to buy a chair? You want to buy a chair? He waits for someone to walk in. And then, like, even then, if he's a good salesman, he doesn't go right up to them. He just, like, waits for them to, like, look around. It's like, oh, let's understand you're looking for something. Can I help?
Yeah.
And then, you know, maybe, oh, do you like this over here? And then the salesman, basically the metaphor is, like, waiting for someone to see me, say that she's interested, and then be like, okay, here's the warranty. Basically saying, here's my conditions. And, you know, here's what it's going to cost, as in, here's what I want. And, you know, maybe
Yeah.
we can be happy with each other.
Right, like how mine and Jordan's relationship kinda
Essentially.
started.
You literally, like, furniture.
That's actually really funny, yeah.
Yeah.
No, the
No,
furniture
literally, to go back
Yeah.
to
The
it, like
furniture, they got me
earlier, I
some.
was telling Joe that one of the big reasons I liked Jordan on Hinge was because I saw that art piece. And of course his
Hanging it.
magic dance moves, but
course.
you know,
Yeah.
that whole thing.
Just a quick analogy of what Joel was just saying,
Yeah.
because this has got to be like one of my favorite analogies that I think about, where it's if you're at a dinner party and you are sitting at one end of the table and you see the chicken at the other end,
Yes.
you do not. You're supposed to wait until it comes around to you. You don't reach
a good
out
one.
for it. You wait for it to
Yeah,
come to you, because if you
exactly.
are reaching for it, you're projecting lack. And when you project
yeah.
that lack, the universe will respond with, "Oh, you don't have it," and that's it.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Won't get
Have
it.
you ever heard of
Yeah.
the Matthew principle?
No, it's
What is that?
It goes, to he who has everything, all will be given. From he who has nothing, all will be taken.
Yeah,
makes sense.
straight
Mhm.
up.
Makes sense.
Very solid.
Yeah, seriously.
All right.
Parker, did you have
Yes, no,
anything
Parker.
to say?
Hold on, I got you.
Yeah, please,
Grab
please.
the mic for a second.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Angelica, I have a serious question and a funny question.
Yeah, please.
How do you think hormones affect sexual and social development? And what would you think of a future where hormones of different kinds are available recreationally, not under a medical thing?
Yeah.
If you say, I've noticed people who take more dominant role have certain hormones.
Yeah.
Would people, what would you think of that in becoming more available?
Yeah.
And also, how does that affect us now and in history?
Interesting. So,
Thank you, Parker.
actually, in the pilot episode,
Yeah.
that's something that we were talking about, is the way that hormones actually play into libido, which is your sex drive.
Oh, dude, yeah. Go for it.
So, in my personal opinion, the way that hormones react within our body, especially to social and sexual situations, is like a fucking rainbow of colors, right? And like you said, some people have more hormones in one aspect than the other person has of the same hormone. And I think if we were able to get to a point in time where we could take hormones recreationally, which, by the way, we do, I have birth control in my arm right now. I am currently taking hormones, and I have been for the last 6 years. And let me tell you, it's made my life a living hell sexually. Awful. I don't think, personally, that certain hormones can benefit people. And it's a really sticky situation because we also don't know enough about hormones to really say which ones are the good ones and which ones are the bad ones. Because the role that hormones play in attraction and orgasming and conversation and meeting people, it's so drastically different between you and the next person. And that's why medications react differently to each person. And this hormone that I'm taking reacts differently between different women. So for me, this hormone makes me have no sex drive. But for my other friends that are women that take this same exact birth control, it makes them hornier than a motherfucker. And in my brain, I'm like, why can't I have that?
Is this the same medication?
Yes, it's the exact same medication. Because most women take generally the same hormonal birth control. The one that I have is called Nexplanon, and it's a 5-year medication implant that's put into my arm, and it slowly releases I cannot remember the name of the hormone, but it's a type of estrogen, basically. So I currently, which is why it's really dangerous for me and women, especially who take hormonal birth control, is my testosterone is completely unbalanced because I have so much estrogen pumping through my body that the testosterone, which is where your libido comes from, is like nothing. It's like gone. So
I also think that like the first steroids for like muscle growth and like bodybuilding were synthesized testosterone. I think a lot of them still are. So that's
Yeah. So currently, I would say we are kind of playing with hormones in a way, especially within like sexual endeavors, because birth control has been around since the 70s, I believe.
I think it's the 60s.
60s, yeah. It's been since the 60s when the first like hormonal birth control pill came out, and it's actually like really damaging to women. And even in the research they've been doing to try and get a birth control for men that's hormonal, it does the same side effects to men because it's the estrogen that controls that type of level of release for pregnancy. So when they are doing test trials right now, actually, of hormonal birth control for men are experiencing actually the exact same side effects as women do on birth control. The weight gain, low libido, acne, overeating, really bad depression, anxiety, like all those kinds of things. And what we're learning with hormones specifically is it's really damaging to fuck with your natural hormones and what you as a person release.
There's also controversial research showing that there are pesticides and other environmental things that are affecting humans.
Oh, absolutely.
Microplastics.
Dairy is a huge one, and it's very interesting. I've talked to, like I said in the last one, vegan people, right? People who have chosen to be vegan, and they've been vegan for 5 years consecutively. I can't remember what the study was. They're not intaking those artificial hormones that are put into dairy products because the cows are given them to overproduce milk. They're actually a lot healthier, and their levels of depression dwindle. They don't get as much seasonal depression. They don't have as much anxiety. It's a really fascinating study because you're absolutely right. It's the things that we're also putting into our body and the climate around us that's also affecting the way that our hormones are reacting. And that controls even the weirdest shit like adrenaline. Because like hormones are everything. It's what controls our emotions and our bodies. So
what do you believe about the showing dropping of testosterone and along with sperm count? I don't know if there's a correlation there.
There's this really, really good book that I really like to recommend to men. It's called The Countdown. It came out in 2021, and it is like the lead research in that entire thing right now. And what they're finding is that the number one reason that sperm counts are dwindling is because of the food we are eating. It is literally the food and the microplastics that are being taken in by men. And what they're finding is that being infertile, it's way more common in men than it is in women. Women are actually pretty damn fertile. Like it would take a lot to make us not fertile, actually, because if you think about it, women grow in the womb with the eggs that are provided to them, and they stay with them throughout their life as they drop one once a month, etc. Men are constantly making sperm.
I'm making it right now.
Right. And so when you add in all of these like variables into that mess, it makes sperm count go down. It really does. And so keep it in mind as we move further throughout the years when people start blaming women for being infertile, to reference The Handmaid's Tale. Women are not the ones that are infertile. It is the men, because they are making the sperm on a day-to-day basis, and they're releasing it and then making more, and then releasing it and then making more.
What do you think is a more likely future, that we'll all start eating healthily, or that we'll end up supplementing and becoming dependent for sex and reproduction?
Dependent on who or what?
Well, I would say supplementing with hormones.
Who's giving us the supplements?
Supplement
Pfizer?
manufacturers, yeah.
So basically, in my personal opinion, I believe that we are going to get to a point where us as a society are going to have to look at ourselves in the face, and the data that we have in front of us that's showing us, literally, currently, this information is out there, that dairy is not good for you. Sugar is not good for you. Like, that.
Fuck the dairy industry.
Thank you. Fuck the dairy industry,
Fuck
for real.
them.
Cheese is very addicting. Dairy is addicting. It is literally on purpose. We are not meant to eat dairy. We aren't. It's not for us.
It doesn't.
It doesn't make any
It
sense.
doesn't.
Sorry, I should have said that into the mic. It doesn't make any sense that we
None.
even from just a layman standpoint.
Yeah,
that is
100%.
cows. That is a separate
Yeah,
species.
No,
fucking
for
Yeah.
sure. So
Yeah,
I think
exactly. It's ridiculous.
us as a society, we're gonna have to look at, because as granola as it is to be vegan and vegetarian and to cut things out like dairy and gluten,
Sugar.
people
Sugar.
look at it as being this woke motherfucker who wants to lose weight and blah blah blah. But if you really look at the statistics, it's actually a better quality of life. And I can contest to that, because even as a child, when my parents only allowed us to eat fish, we were pescatarian, and then we also cut out dairy, we actually were the healthiest that we've ever been. And to go back to the hormones thing, our food has hormones in it, and it has those pesticides in it. And so in order for us to move past that, we're going to have to get to a point where we're eating dairy alternatives, and we're only eating small amounts of meat. Meat will no longer be a staple in people's diets. It will be other proteins like beans, eggs,
bugs.
because actually eggs are one of the only proteins that come from an animal that's not the actual meat, that's actually really healthy for you, and it's very beneficial, and it has a lot of energy in it that gives you energy.
Can I point something out quick?
Yeah, go for it.
So everything you're saying with the food and the agriculture industry,
Mm-hmm.
I would say as a human race, we're looking at 3 meteors, and you're talking about one of them. So the food industry, the agriculture, the poison, that's
Mm-hmm.
one meteor.
Yep.
The second meteor is the economy. So world
Mhm.
debt, trade
Yeah.
situations,
Yeah.
and that goes
Oh,
back
my
into
bad.
food,
Yeah, keep
agriculture,
it
the
down.
price of goods, wheat. Can people afford dates? Can people
My bad.
afford to have an apartment? Do I have to take you back home and fuck
where
you?
my parents live.
Yeah, and then they can
Yeah.
hear the bed go that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Or do I have to fuck you in my car with no heat, and then you can
Yeah.
All right, and then the last meteor is the social one,
Yeah.
where we don't even want to talk to each other.
Right. It's getting to the point where with all of those combined things, that's what's making people have less sex. It's because we're doom
Wow,
scrolling.
we fucking
we're
throwed it all the way
eating
back.
shitty
Hell
food.
yeah.
look
Our
at that.
hormones are imbalanced because we're
Yeah,
not
boom, boom.
seeing people on a regular basis.
We don't have money.
Because
Good
you're like,
Clipped.
oh guys, want to hang out? And then guarantee 3 of the 5 friends are gonna say, sorry, I can't. I don't have money.
Or I'm at work.
Or I'm at work.
Yeah.
And so, sorry, to bring it back to really what Parker is saying, just to round it out. I really feel like in terms of the hormone thing, we're already experiencing artificial hormones, and we're going to have to reverse it before we find a healthy benefit for it, especially in terms of how it affects our sex life.
And who is administering and who is in control of it.
Right, because
right
we have
now,
it's big pharma.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
the dairy industry, as you were saying.
Exactly, yeah.
It's
And-
cheap and
Fuck the
available
dairy.
for a reason.
It's
But
it's a lot easier to fight the malpractice lawsuits than it is to come up with the right thing. I've noticed a lot of, like you were saying, at least with psychological medications, it's more guess and check.
It is.
And
yeah.
I mean, but also everybody's diet's different. Everyone's hormones levels are different.
Mm-hmm.
There are some women that are born with higher levels of testosterone than some men.
Right, exactly.
Something that we couldn't control until now.
Right. And that can also kind of be brought into people transitioning if they're transgender. There's been a lot of studies looking at like the effects that transitioning has on a person. And this has nothing to do with psychologically. This has everything to do with the way that hormones react and everything.
Hour 30.
Damn, do we need to end it? I can wrap it up.
If you want to land your plane
Put a bow
soon,
on it.
Okay,
If
yeah,
you
yeah.
want to land,
No,
because
you're
again,
good.
we could circle back at any point in time. And
No,
do
yeah,
this,
you're good.
you know?
So basically what I'm
or
trying
continue. Well, I'll say continue the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically what I'm trying to say is
Really?
that before
Well,
we
one
can
time.
look into the realm of hormones of like benefiting us in a way that would help society, we have to cut out all of the shit that's already affecting our hormones. And that's the stuff that Joe brought up, and it's our fucking food, because the hormones that they give to the cows is not hormones that humans should even have in their body, because it's for animals.
Yep.
Yeah, dude. Now circle it back to sex.
Oh, yes. Okay, so
Actually, I feel like this doesn't necessarily have to be about sex. It
Yeah.
can literally just
No,
be about like
because
general
it's-
topics.
Politics in it.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
because sex is
attached.
also
It's attached to it.
That's
sex
actually
is social.
Yeah.
Sex is social.
That's
so
true.
we just went into the social aspects of what sex is.
Oh,
Also,
We made it. We made it.
well, you did it. Okay, well,
quick-
look at you.
Yeah.
quick.
You want to? Oh, yeah, go for it.
Good thing that the shift is here, as he was saying, with what are we gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
But obviously things have been changing rapidly.
Yep.
And it's due to a shift.
Mm-hmm.
And I am very hopeful and thankful, because I agree that through generations we will come into a better space.
I believe so as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hope and pray.
I feel like this is a very turning point time for us to experience
Yeah,
life.
It's
dude.
literally my favorite thing. I am so grateful to be alive right now,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
we get to experience how shitty,
No.
and then get to experience.
Like, you
it
can think
of it
getting
this
better
way.
gradually.
Oh, are you gonna say? I think you're gonna say the same thing I'm gonna say.
We
but
have a
go for
lot
it.
of access to stuff our parents never did.
Exactly.
Google.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And we get to say, back in my day, we literally experienced so much goddamn trauma on a daily
Oh.
basis.
We
Y'all
get to
vegan
do
asses have
this.
it great.
We get to do this
I know.
Exactly.
I know.
as a
Literally.
social group.
It's
Are,
literally.
are
healing.
any of us spending money in this moment?
No.
We're literally
No.
healing.
Gas money.
Gas
You know
money?
what, Joe? You know what, Joe? You ruined my beautiful moment. You ruined
Yeah.
my beautiful moment.
No, I didn't. The economy did.
Yeah,
There
you're
you
blaming the
go.
wrong guy.
But yeah, I think we're calling. Well, if you're cool with it, the beneficial friends or something like that.
After this podcast, I'm kind of
What do you want to
thinking.
call it?
I'm kind of thinking about calling it socialization and sexuality.
I think that.
I want to kind of keep it very like.
That sounds
like
like,
all
a
the
college
S
course.
sounds.
Yeah.
It sounds like a college course.
Alliteration.
Thank you.
Yeah, it
Thank
does.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Socialization and sexuality.
Yeah.
Good.
Ding
Very
ding. All right,
good.
cool.
Because yeah.
Honestly,
so.
yes. Stop.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, I can do that with one hand.
Joe, stop.
Oh.
Stop, Joe.
Sounds like masturbation, and we're back.
But yeah,
Um,
that's this is basically it. This is kind of what I want the podcast to be, is just bringing people in and talking to them about their experiences and letting the conversation flow with no judgment and no hatred towards another person for their
Of
experiences.
course.
As always. So,
What's up?
yes.
Could you say that again?
Say what again?
All of that.
The whole podcast.
podcast.
Jordan forgot to hit record.
Like I watched it and it was not registering.
Uh-oh. Did I do something?
You probably touched the cord a little bit. Just push it in.
How about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can hear you now.
Okay. So what I said was, this is really what I wanted the podcast to be about. I wanted it to just be like a place where me and Jordan can bring in people and just kind of openly talk about social situations and sexuality and just everything that involves like being a human being without any judgment. Because again, like I said at the beginning, it's very taboo, and I want to make it not taboo. So.
What's the name of the show and who are you?
This has been. I don't remember. Social.
You can literally call it Being Human, which was a show on Sci-Fi. You can call it Being Human. You could totally rip that title.
Yo, I'll fucking rip that
that
shit.
title.
I'll rip that shit. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, we'll do it. We'll do
Do
it.
you want to call it Being Human?
Yes,
Okay.
that's a final decision.
Done. And you are? Yeah.
I have been Angelica, and this has been Being Human.
How about human being? I'm literally just kidding. No. Who are you?
Oh, are we all?
You don't have to, but anyway,
We're peacing out.
Okay.
we're deucing. Bye.
Thanks, Jill.
Be safe out there, kids.
Thank you all for listening. I appreciate you all.
Yeah, I got you.
Eat healthy.
Hell yeah.
And take care. This has been Jordan D. and Angelica May with Cafeteria Media. I'll catch you guys later.